Welcome to the Genesis Mindset. So today I want to show you how the Treasury system within the Atropa ecosystem can help bring pDAI to $1, but more importantly, how it can also help bring all of Pulsechain up, depending on the type of tokens that are used as parents. So I want to be very clear on this because this is quite complicated, but it's simple once you start to figure it out. But yeah, I really need to structure the argument very clearly in order for it to be clear in your mind as well. So through the burn mechanisms of the minters. So in this particular case, we're going to look at the V4 minters. So this is where I believe we, as the community, have the power to change the trajectory of pDAI and really tokens in Pulsechain. If we work together, we can grow together. So this is where we can sacrifice and transmute our greed into giving. This is something that I'm really, really passionate about on this particular channel. If we want a new financial system, then we also need to change our consciousness. So let's go. Now, just to be clear, so this is the Treasury System.win. So this is the V4 minters because I want to paint the picture in a very logical way. So the V4 personal minters, you can choose any token to be the parent for V4 personal minters. There's also a multiplier factor for V4 tokens that increases every time the starting supply of the child token is minted. So this is the code. I'm not going to go over the code. I actually tried to make this into like a spreadsheet so I could actually do the math to see how much would need to be burned or how much would need to be minted to burn the kind of billions we want to see burnt for pDAI. Obviously, the less supply we have, the more things are going to pump, the easier it is to pump. So I haven't been able to figure out how to put this into a spreadsheet. It took me about 1.5 to 2 hours with ChatGPT, but I just couldn't quite get it. So if anyone is a math whiz, knows how to turn this into some kind of calculation with a spreadsheet, please hit me up in the DMs. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the logic. And remember, this is just a speculation. This is not like, oh, I said it, it's going to happen. This is purely speculation. This is a hypothesis. So how can pDAI get to $1? So belief is one thing, but we also need logic. So yes, at the moment, belief is really what's getting us there. Mostly belief in the Atropa ecosystem because of the liquidity bonding patterns. I believe the Atropa ecosystem is going to go up. So by virtue, I also believe pDAI is going to go up. Does that mean pDAI is going to take 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 6 years, 20 years to get to $1? I have no idea. There's 44 billion tokens in circulation. So the more in circulation, the harder it is to get there. This is a fact. But it's not an impossibility because we believe in the Atropa ecosystem. So just through Hart's law, it will get dragged up. So besides liquidity bonding with the Atropa ecosystem, there are tokens which you can burn. You can burn pDAI against to mint. So for example, Affection, DAIICHI, and ICHI all burn pDAI to mint those tokens. DAIICHI is one of the V4 tokens. So we're going to look at DAIICHI and ICHI. And it's interesting to note that after this whole pDAI fiasco happened, Maria Rahel changed his name to Hamad DAIICHI. Let's keep that in mind. So DAIICHI and ICHI are V4 Treasury minters. So both started with 111 supply, meaning for every 111 token pDAI burnt, the number goes up by +1. So this is actually really easy to find. This used to be difficult for me to find, but it's actually incredibly simple. So all you need to do is when you copy and paste a token address into here, then it tells you what the transaction was where it started. So I used to go through this. I used to go through the transactions, click through, and that took too long. And then I ended up downloading exporting the blockchain data and then finding the transaction on the first transaction. But then I just realized you can just click this and it tells me all the information I need. So I'm just saying that so people who want to do this kind of research themselves, it's very, very simple to find what the initial supplier was simply by just clicking that transaction. So this tells us that 111 MV was burnt and therefore 111 DAIICHI was minted because the initial mint supply is based on how much MV is burnt. So MV is really an interesting integral part of the Atropa ecosystem and now especially the Treasury. So it goes through the Atropa math and the RNG, so the random number generator, which Maria claims to be one of the first true random number generators on the blockchain. So based on this logic, based on the way that I understand the logic, so basically for the first 111 minted tokens, it would cost 111 pDAI. And then after 111 have been minted, then it gets the multiplier goes up by +1. So therefore, the next 111 will require 112 pDAI. Then the next 111 will require 113, so on and so forth, until we get to the point where we are now, where I'll just cross this. So we can see ICHI DAI, to mint one ICHI DAI costs 218. It burns 218 pDAI. And to mint one DAIICHI is 162. Okay, so very simply, 162. One DAIICHI equals what? 164 actually. So now going back to this, so DAIICHI currently has burnt, or at least burnt on the contract. I don't know if anyone's claimed these or if you can claim these. I'm still not 100% sure on these things, but basically 1.5 million is sitting on the contract. So that tells me 1.5 million has been burnt, 1.5 million pDAI to the contract, and 260,000 is in the LP, which is as good as burnt if you're smart enough to know. So I'll explain why it's as good as burnt, but it's not really as good as burnt. But I consider it to be more like a vault, like a storage. That's how I'm looking at it. So as we can see here, so then you can see the numbers here. So you've got this is the LP. So the LP has 260,000 DAI stablecoin and 1,700 DAIICHI. Now for ICHI DAI, it currently has 3.16 million burnt pDAI and 71,000 in the LP. So if you're a whale and you believe in the pDAI narrative and you want to contribute to it, so people often ask, how can I help? How can I help the Atropa ecosystem? How can I help pDAI? Well, I believe this is one way that you can help it. It's not too hard to continue to do this process by designing the LPs. And it's really good with ICHI DAI and DAIICHI, where we have two distinct differences, so you can really see the clear differences in the two. So if you then put it in LP with pDAI, you essentially have a yield-bearing asset through arbitrage bots, on top of which your first mints will always be in profit compared to your last mints. So this is where designing the LP. So this is DAIICHI, and we'll go into this here. But basically, with this diagram that I've showed, this is the DAIICHI liquidity pools versal.app, and DAI is the biggest pool. So if DAI is the biggest pool with this, then the price is going to move against and with mostly pDAI. You want to have something above that that moves faster than pDAI, so that drags the price of the DAIICHI up against the pDAI, which therefore makes it an arbitrage opportunity. So it will incentivize you to burn your pDAI to mint the DAIICHI, and then if you wanted to, then you can sell. But that's not really the way that I'm necessarily looking at it in terms of the selling, at least not yet anyway. So these mechanisms, anyone can freely do themselves. So anyone can create their own V3 and V4 and V2. But at the moment, these are just the Maria launch ones. So they're very, very severely misunderstood, even by myself. So my process here is trying to explain it, and I'm learning as I'm going, as we all know if you've watched this channel long enough. So if you extrapolate this logic over a long period of time, it's incredibly meaningful to the pDAI to $1 narrative, because obviously the more tokens you burn, the less you have to pump, and the more that it can pump because the tokens are burnt. So price appreciation is absolutely positively possible, but it's going to take work and selfless sacrifice, not waiting for Richard to come and pump your bags. Are you here to take, or are you here to give? So now let's go into this in a little bit more detail about the liquidity providing positions. So ICHI DAI. Now, obviously, they both started with 111, but ICHI DAI currently it requires more pDAI to burn, which means people have been minting more ICHI DAI compared to DAIICHI. And obviously, this is obvious because ICHI DAI has a bigger supply than DAIICHI, but they both started off with the same supply. Now, why might this be? The reason why this is because of the way the liquidity is set up. So this is DAIICHI, and this is ICHI DAI. So ICHI DAI has 10.1K in liquidity. DAIICHI has half of that. But the key factor here is that it has Atropa as its biggest pool. So In other words, it's got 17,000 tokens in liquidity and 16,000. So basically 90% of the supply is with Atropa. So therefore, this is getting dragged with Atropa. So now if Atropa moves with pDAI, there's really not much of a differentiation here. I haven't really monitored too much whenever these opportunities might have come. But if ever there's an instance where Atropa is just a little bit ahead of pDAI, then there's going to be a mint opportunity. So using Atropa for a pDAI thing is probably not necessarily a good idea because they basically move together. But let's say we had Teddy Bear, and Teddy Bear now at the moment is outpacing pDAI. So if Teddy Bear was the biggest pool here, then what's that going to do? Teddy Bear would then drag up the price of ICHI, and then ICHI would then become more valuable than the pDAI. So then you would burn your pDAI to mint your DAIICHI. And if you wanted to, you could then sell your DAIICHI, sell your ICHI back into the pDAI. I'm so sorry because the names are the names are so similar. So it's a little bit of a tongue twister. But let's think about the implications of this going back to square one. Let's go back to square one to make this really clear. I'm trying to build the story up in your mind how it is in my mind. So let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning with 111 token supply. At this time, when there was 111 DAIICHI, or we'll use ICHI because it was the same thing because we're talking about ICHI, even though they're basically the same thing with just different names. So ICHI also had 111, which meant you then needed to burn 111 pDAI. Oh, maybe that's why the math was wrong, actually. Hang on a second. Unless at the start, let me just clarify this. Hang on a second. You can also choose any token to be the parent for V4 personal minter. There's also a multiplier factor for V4 tokens that increases every time the starting supply of the child token is minted. So maybe at the start, it was like one pDAI for one ICHI until it got to 111, and then it went up to 2. And then 2 became, so then you would burn 2 pDAI for the next 111 ICHI. Maybe that's what it is. So it starts at 1, and then it goes up to 2, and then it goes up to 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, so on and so forth, until eventually now it's up to 218. So in other words, I need to verify that. I need to verify that. Let's just verify it. Let's do that right now. Yeah, maybe this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode, but let's verify this right now. I know I've got some teddy bear in my wallet, so let's just let's just do this with teddy bear, because at least we know I've got a lot of supply. So teddy bear, I'm going to create a teddy bear minter on a V4. So let's create a token. I don't have any MV, I don't think. I might have MV. Let's just try. Little baby Coco Bear. Little baby Coco Bear. Coco Bear. Little baby Coco Bear. And then, of course, we have to have the cute little U symbol. So let's get our cute little U symbol. Oh, even better. Little baby Coco Bear. Yeah, baby. Little baby Coco Bear. All right. Little baby Coco Bear 1. And the parent address is this. But I don't even know if I've got any MV. So this could be a problem. I might not have MV. So let's see what it does. Checking MV token allowance. Initial approval for MV tokens. I'm also here just going to copy the address in case I don't have MV, so I can actually buy some. I've got some, but I don't have the right amount. So hang on a second. Approved to. Let me just so I can get the MV contract address. All right, hang on. Well, I mean, let's see. It might have, but it doesn't look like I have. So I'll get MV. This now is probably entering into possibly people getting confused, and I'm really sorry. I mean, I restarted this again so I could try and get the flow better, but they're very difficult. It's very difficult to explain these things, I have to say. So I'm going to get the MV contract address because I don't actually think I've got enough MV in there. So I'm going to have to buy some MV. Let's see what it did. Initiate, so it failed. Okay, so I don't have any MV. So let's go to Pulse. I'm just going to buy one MV. Oops. Hey. MV. You know what? I'll buy 10. I'll buy 100, whatever, or 1,000 in case I end up doing this more and more. Okay, so there we go. Okay. So I might actually make it 10 instead of just 1 as well. Actually, the starting supply of 10. Because then the math will be nice and round. Cocoa Bear. Because it's only tiny. There's only 10, right? All right, so we should have our MV by now. Yep, approved. So we got our... Okay, so now we're creating... So this is really now entering the stage of a tutorial, which possibly I can cut up into a separate video for how to create a V4, but I'll probably end up doing it again in a more logical way. I'm kind of just working things out here. So initial token creation. So it knows now that I've got my MV. So now it's going to create it. So it's going to cost 4,200 in PLS because it's creating a new token. Waiting for transaction confirmation. All right. So it was just created. Now, did it... No. All right. So then we would need to then go to my transactions. So I can get the contract address. Custom network. 1 minute ago, unknown transaction. So we're going to get the contract address for my little baby Cocoa Bear. So what's the contract address for little baby Cocoa Bear? See, you can see here. It's the same as what we saw there. So we burnt 10 and now we've created 10. So, I mean, it's good to show you this as well because you could also make your own version of this with pDAI or Teddy Bear or whatever token you want. So, little baby Cocoa Bear, come on, give me the contract address for my little baby Cocoa Bear. Here we go, 877. All right, now, little baby Cocoa Bear, we're going to import little baby Cocoa Bear, V4 Minter, little baby Cocoa Bear, import. All right, so little baby Cocoa Bear. Now we've got little baby Cocoa Bear. So now, is it going to show me the math here? Nice. 2 parent tokens is going to burn. What happens if I put 10? So, 20. And then if I put 100, it will show 200 because it doesn't add. So 10, I'm just going to do 1 for now because we know that 10 was the initial supply. So what we're trying to work out now is if I could read code clearly, it would probably be very obvious. But yeah, this is what I do. I'm just a kid that doesn't know how to read code too well with a finite amount of hours in the day. All right, so so what I'm trying to verify here is because we need to, what I want to know, well, actually it's verified it here. Two tokens. So really, I then should be able to mint another 9, and it should be 18. But then the next lot will be, it'll then mint, it'll take 3 tokens, not 2. So after every 10 that is minted of Lil Coco Bear, it gets a +1 multiplier. +1, +1. That's what we're verifying here. People who know the code are probably watching this going, "Oh, Steve, you noob. You could have just, you can just read it there." Can anybody read that? Function multiplier. So the multiplier, I mean, I probably could figure this out after a certain period of time, but I'm just rapidly trying to produce this stuff and share it, and it's like, okay, so what is it saying? The multiplier is the UNT 256. I think that's like, I don't know, the token addition, public view return. So then it looks at what the supply is possibly. And then, once it gets the return, it's the addition plus the total supply divided by that number +1. See, I don't know where this number comes from. I guess we'll figure this out now. So now I've got 10 little baby Coco Bear. So really, this should now say 3. Yes. All right, there we go. 3. Did we see that? Do we understand that? So in other words, now let's go back. Let's go back to this. So 111. So for the first 111 minted DAIICHI and ICHI DAI, it cost 2 pDAI. 2 pDAI. And then after those 111 were minted, then for the next 111, it cost 3 pDAI. And then after those 111, then the next 111, it cost 4 pDAI. So on and so forth until now, ICHI DAI is 218 pDAI to mint 1, and DAIICHI is 162 to mint 1. So therefore, this is why Maria was saying on stream, when he was still Maria Rahel, the artist formerly known as, that it's impossible for the people who get into these minters early to lose. Because if I minted the first 111 DAIICHI for 2 pDAI each, that's 111 times 2, which is 222. 222 pDAI. Now, if I go to sell those pDAI, those DAIICHI now, for example, where's my DAIICHI and DAI? If I go to sell them back, so remember, it cost me 222 pDAI. If I go to sell them back, there's probably going to be slippage because of the size of the liquidity pools, but just so you can get a gist, 17,000. So that's a pretty good return. That's a pretty good return on investment, right? That's basically, I mean, it's a multiplication of really 162 divided by 2. So it's 81x. That's what it should be, 81x. So 22 times 81. There we go, 81x. So 81 is 17,982, but then you've got the slippage, so it ends up being 17,000. So this is the interesting part of the minters, and I'm glad I showed this because it made it clear in my mind. But I'm hopefully now it makes it very clear in your mind as well what the implications of this means. So now, if I'm a benevolent whale and I have hundreds of millions of pDAI and I want to see pDAI peg, and it's like, I've got hundreds of millions, I only want to get 20 Lambos. If I get 20 Lambos, that's only going to cost me 30 million. And then I'm still going to have hundreds of millions of pDAI left if this ever gets to $1. What am I going to do with those hundreds of millions? Okay, I don't know, whatever I'm going to do. I'll buy a mansion. Then I've still got 100 million left. You might look at that and go, all right, that hundreds of millions, I want that just to be a yield-bearing asset. I don't ever want to sell that initial 100 million. I want it to be a yield-bearing asset. Well, I can create my own yield-bearing asset within these liquidity pools. So I can mint the shit out of DAIICHI and ICHI DAI with my pDAI, add it into liquidity, and then I've got a yield-bearing asset that generates yield through arbitrage. I might also, because I'm a whale, I'm a rich whale, I might also have tons of Atropa, tons of teddy bear, tons of, I don't know, what's some other things, Hex and Pulsex and whatever else. And I say, you know what? I think Hex is going to run the fastest in the next 12 months. So then I can just add a big stack of Hex and ICHI into a liquidity pool and make it 50% of the liquidity. So then I can keep minting, and then I could just mint and sell and mint and sell and mint and sell, or I could just leave it in the liquidity, and it just is basically a vault that's sitting there, which is carrying the value of the pDAI against the ICHI DAI. And now that is a yield-bearing asset. So instead of my pDAI just sitting there in my pool generating in my wallets generating no yield, I can make it generate yield through this system. Then if I'm a benevolent whale, like I mentioned with the Hex, and I say, you know what, I'm going to incentivize other people to come into this ICHI DAI. I want other people to get profit from this. So in other words, what does that mean? So the profit means whenever they look at this, they're going to see something like this, where they go, oh, I can burn some of my pDAI, and then I can mint the ICHI DAI, but then I can sell the ICHI DAI and get more pDAI. So if you are a benevolent whale and that's what you want to do, you can incentivize people to come and do this to generate flow through your liquidity pools. So I hope that is potentially making at least a little bit of sense. It makes a little bit of sense in my mind. It's not fully 100% clear, but they're just some of the games that I can see emerge out of this, and some of the benevolent behaviors that people can do if they really do believe. So yeah, honestly, if I had hundreds of millions of pDAI, this is something that I would do. This is something that I would do, because why just have it sitting in your wallet doing nothing when you can put it to work? And by putting it to work, you keep it in the liquidity, and then you just never sell that asset, and it's just generating yield. And then it's going up with the rest of Pulsechain. And if you set up your liquidity pools right, then it's not losing value against the minted token. It's being lifted up with the minted token. So it's not like you won't have any real impermanent loss, because you're also going to create a market within this by incentivizing people to mint your token and burn their pDAI and sell into your liquidity pools. This is some of the things that I can see emerging. And so this is creating motion within your little ecosystem. So you could do this with the Maria setup ones. You could also set up your own. So obviously now, little baby Coco Bear, little baby Coco Bear, I could set that up where I can help whatever. I can gift it to others for whatever reason. So that's something that Ironclad has done. So Ironclad has basically been like, Coco, you can go to Treasury and start minting that now. It's in profit. So then that's what I would do. I would mint it and I would sell it, and then I would multiply my Treasury bill stack. You could also help people do that, incentivize people into your little ecosystem in that particular way. So it really makes things really, really, really quite interesting. So from that perspective, I hope that makes sense. So now, again, I just want to go over this one more time. So belief is one thing, but we need logic. So besides liquidity bonding, we have these tokens now, which we can burn pDAI against. Now, I just showed you how to do it with Teddy Bear. You can do it with any token within, I believe, within Pulsechain. I think it can be any token. So for example, there's Wrapped Bitcoin is one. There's Pulsechain. So there's one that burns Pulsechain. So there's 2CP that burns Pulsechain to mint the token, and it's a multiplier as well. So, man, Maria's doing some very, very, very interesting things. Okay, so then obviously based on the logic of the burning and the minting, over time, it's going to require more burning to mint the token, which is going to lift up the value of the token. And so the initial minters are going to always be in profit, always. So even if you think about it like that, you can create an ecosystem as a whale. You might be able to create the math and say, you know what, I'm going to dump tens of thousands into this, and I'm going to mint the first tens of thousands of supply, but now I'm going to give other people tens of thousands of liquidity that they can take out of it. But as they're buying and selling into it, I can also sell back into it, and I can get back my tens of thousands that I put up for liquidity at the start because of all those tokens that I initially minted for that value. That's another thing that just came to my mind just then about how cool this system is. So DAIICHI currently has 1.5 million pDAI burnt to the contract, 260,000 in liquidity, and ICHI has 3.1 million and 71,000 in liquidity. So it has less in liquidity, but it has more tokens. This is why there's more burnt to the contract. So I'm going to go back now and fix up my spreadsheet so I can figure this out. Once I got a spreadsheet, I might even be able to it'll just be fun. I might even screw around with the spreadsheet while I'm on stream if people want to watch me do that. I mean, I feel like it'll be quite boring, but I'm going to do it anyway, so I may as well do it on stream to kind of show you how you can use and leverage artificial intelligence to get more efficient. Man, artificial intelligence, bros. So if you're a whale and you believe, it's not too hard to continue this process by designing the LP. So if you then put it in LP with pDAI, you essentially have a yield-bearing asset through arbitrage bots, on top of which your first mints will always be in profit compared to your last mints. These mechanisms, which anyone can freely do themselves, are so severely misunderstood, including by myself. As you saw, I'm also still just working it out as I'm going along. It's like going through a jungle and I'm hacking through the thing, and then there's a light there, a little bit of light, get the machete, hack through, just hacking my way through here. If you extrapolate the logic over time, it's incredibly meaningful to the pDAI to $1 narrative. The price appreciation is absolutely, positively possible, but it's going to take work and selfless sacrifice, not waiting for Witchard to come along and pump your bags. So are you here to take, or are you here to give? So, right, let's see if we can work out this calculator then, because obviously the number will not get reduced on this, just FYI. So it's like they are burnt and they can be claimed off the contract. As far as I know, they can be claimed off the contract. So we can see here, this is DAIICHI. If I click the contract address, and then it will show holdings. So when they get tokens, and then it will show me how much DAI stablecoin has been burnt for this. So 1.5 million. So really not much at all. There's 44 billion, only 1.5 million. But if you can see that this can start to snowball, it makes things very interesting. That 1.5 million will not get deducted from this number. It's burnt, but this number only gets reduced when the tokens get sent to the burn address. Then the block explorer says, oh, yes, now they've been deleted from supply, and I'm going to delete them from this supply because they're in the burn address now. So even though they're quote unquote burnt, they're still showing as part of this number, which also makes things quite interesting as well. I wonder if there's some logic to that in some kind of like fractional reserve system or mechanism or something like this. So, all right, let me just go to my chat GPT. Actually, you know what? Just in case something gets doxed here, I just have to make sure nothing gets doxed. My chat GPT. Bloody chat GPT. All right, let's go. All right, minting formula. Hey, I'll tell you what. Anyone, here's another little artificial intelligence hack. I need to do another AI verse video, another little artificial intelligence hack. Timestamps. Found a YouTube video shared by one of my boys, and then slightly modified it. So I just use this as a prompt, copy and paste, and then it will say, okay, yeah, give me the times, give me the transcript. So then I upload the transcript, and then it gives me, and then it spits out timestamps. So I don't have to do the timestamps myself, especially when it's alive. I mean, I used to try and do that. I'll listen back at the gym and then pause while I'm lifting 100,000 kilos, while I'm getting jacked, getting huge, and then I'll enter like what I said. The flow is not good for the gym. It takes me too long at the gym. It's too inefficient. This is just like bang, done, beautiful, copy and paste. Have a quick look. Did it spell everything correctly? So if anyone is a content creator, this is an awesome little hack. I'm more than happy to. I've shared this with Somi, But if anyone else wants it, you let me know. So yeah, there was too many here, so then I asked it just to reduce it down to 10 to 15. So yeah, this was from maybe a couple of days ago, the timestamp. So hopefully it makes things easier for people in the future, because people do often request this. Okay, so the minting formula. So I'll go back now, and so it's given me a calculator. Now, where was it? Where was it? All right, so here we go. Oh, actually, so I'm going to edit this. Oh, actually, what happens is the first 111 DAIICHI minted will burn 2 pDAI each. Then it will go up to 2 plus 1. It only goes up plus 1 once 111 DAIICHI are minted. So 111 DAIICHI mint to burn 2 pDAI each equals 222 total pDAI burnt. Next, 111 DAIICHI mints to burn 2 plus 1 pDAI each equals so that'll be 333 total, and then 111. So then yeah, so that I'll just put 3, then I'll put 4. So then that'll be 444, and then that'll be plus the 222 already burnt, plus the 222, plus the 333 already burnt, and then plus 5 after the next 111 mints to burn 5 pDAI each, which makes it 545 total pDAI, plus 222, plus 333, plus 444, already burnt, etc., etc. Makes sense. And then it's going to spit out something for me here. So this is some real kind of nerdy stuff, but a part of me loves it and a part of me hates it. You know, the fact that I spent I really wanted to get this formula ready for the episode so it could make it super, super clear. But it's kind of good that I didn't, because we ended up getting it wrong. So let's have a look. All right, here we go. So this, let me, okay, so what's, enable the editing. Yeah, this doesn't look right, does it? pDAI burnt, total pDAI burnt. Oh, you son of a, that's so wrong. That is so wrong. You cheeky dog. Oh, hang on. Wait a minute. Interesting. All right, it's done it in a very interesting way. Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. It looks to be correct, but yeah, let me know if you want formulas built into it or an input-output calculator sheet. Yes, please. Yes, please. And input-output calculator, please. Calculator sheet added, so I can enter either the pDAI or the DAIICHI. So, I mean, I use this a lot to learn a lot, just FYI. So as this is spitting out, I'm just going to go through some of these comments. What's going on, Richard? What's going on, Princess Shawnee B? Larry, what's going on? I thought this too, Stephen. When you posted about the DARPA bear, I realized that I was burning bear to buy it back up. Positive for price action over the long term. Yeah, and then don't forget also, inversely to that, if you believe that it's going to continue to grow, it's also not necessarily. It's also a decent idea to swap rather than burn to mint, to swap your pDAI into the DAIICHI while it's cheaper. So then as it continues to go up with people burning and minting more, you also bought it at a cheaper rate. So it has the dynamic that comes from the buying, which is driving the price up. If the token continues to rise, people will buy and swap into it, but then also people are going to burn their pDAI to mint into it. So it's the pressure is coming from both directions. So at the minute, I've mentioned this to Yogi, but at the minute it kind of looks like, oh, it's not good if it's like grayed out, because it kind of, your brain just thinks it's not a deal. But when it's green, it's like, oh, it must be a deal. But it's a deal both ways. It's a deal both ways, particularly if this number continues to go up. So in other words, at the minute, yeah, 218 pDAI to mint. So 218, let me just do this so it's like nice and clear what I'm talking about here. So ICHI DAI. So if it's 218, so if I want to buy a 1, it's going to be less than 218. So it's 188. But if I want to mint 1, it's going to cost me 218. So it's going to cost more pDAI. So this has gone from 2 up to 218, and it's got 10,000 in liquidity. Now, if that number just continues to creep up, and let's say next week it's 300, and next week it's 400 pDAI to burn, and then the week after it's 500 to burn for 1, then you still got a deal by doing a swap. You got a premium. Very interesting game theory, right? What's going on, Mitchell? Orez, Conspiracy Crypto, what's up? What's up? AOKG. Yeah, this is a little bit all over the place. I really do apologize, guys. It's a little bit all over the place, but I'm doing the best that I can here. So will your COCO Bear be on the list in the Treasury System win website for everyone? So Richard, no. So you would have to find COCO Bear, and then by finding COCO Bear, then you would import it. But yeah, there's nothing to it. I might do something with it one day, but at the minute, I mean, yeah, there's no liquidity in it, so there's nothing there. But I might do it one day. Little COCO Bear, little baby COCO Bear. Just made your first token. Good on you, Richard. What's going on, Jim Rat? Okob, so Dora, that's it, Jim Rat. Dora. Found your channel last week. Fantastic content. Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Steve-O, what's going on? I've got a meeting in a few, but wanted to hop on and say hi. Good on you, Steve-O. Nice to see you, man. So, all right. Let's see if our little calculator got spit out here. So, come on, baby. Papa needs a new pair of shoes. Now, the way we should be able to verify this is that the current token supply should equal the burn supply. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Oh, that's not really. Where's me formula? Where's me formula, mate? That's not a formula. What's this? What's this? You've just literally given me the exact same chart, bro. What are you doing? It's literally the exact same chart. You cheeky dog AI. You gave me a formula last time. No, I don't want to save that. That's rubbish. You cheeky little dog. With input. Go to the calculator sheet. Well, Steve, this is what happens when you rush around too much. There is an input sheet on there. So it's actually, well, there we go. It lied. It's actually calculator. Let's have a look to verify that it's all correct, Amundo. Out of range. So this should be 1. Okay, cool. So then 112, 225. Okay, good. Come on, baby. Come on. So that should equal like 1 point something mil. You son of a Dylan. No. Why? Why is that 125? Somehow the math is wrong. Input DAIICHI. Yeah, that's really yeah. See, what? It's literally done input total pDAI burned, and then the output estimate, it's way different numbers. So somehow the calculation or whatever it's done it's balked it up. But let's actually see here. So this is 1 point that many million. Let's have a look here. Maybe it will. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. Here we go. What? That yeah. Yeah, that's totally wrong, isn't it? That's totally bloody wrong. Ah, dearie me. Okay. Yep. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to continue to try and figure that out. There'll be a way to figure it out, and if I could read the code properly, I'd be like, oh, that's the equation. I mean, look at the shit that it was spitting out before. Look at what it was doing. Look at what it was doing. All this fancy math. I'm just like, bro, just give me a fucking calculator, man. I just want a calculator. I gave it the code, and I'm rushing this. I mean, what the hell's all this? What the hell's all this? This is the sigma. What have I got sigma? The sigma number for? I don't get it. I don't get all these things. 1 + 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Then the rest I use a calculator. All this bullshit. I mean, I can kind of remember this from year 4 math. I don't know. Yeah, too much. So when the AI gets cheeky, I always rage. AI is getting cheeky AF. I tell you what. So yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to get to it eventually, but it's not really worth it. What I wanted to do was be like, oh, maybe basically if we have 100,000 of these tokens, then that's going to end up burning like 1 billion, for example. Then I can pull out at least a number that we can kind of wrap our head around and get something tangible. All we have at the moment to go off is the fact that, 117 all we have at the moment to go off is that 17,000 tokens has burnt 1.5 million, and about 26,000 tokens for ICHI DAI burnt 3.5 million. So yeah, I don't know what that means. I don't know how many of these are going to have to get minted for there to be billions, but it's just interesting. It's just interesting because these are getting minted out of thin air. They're getting minted out of thin air, and once you put it in liquidity, it gives it value. And then the pDAI has a backing asset that just got minted out of thin air. So that it's just this whole ever-expanding fractionally reserved liquidity system. So very fascinating. So just really started down the rabbit hole of Pulsechain. Love your content and the chain. Thanks for your insights and educating me and the masses. My pleasure, CoFund007. Would you hold T-bill or Fed? Banks, I hold them both, my friend. Actually, you don't know what I hold. I hold nothing. Hi, I thought pDAI was dead. Never mind, just check the chart. La 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 la. Yeah, it's definitely looking due for a little cheeky little pullback though. It's had a good little decent run, but you know, we never know. It could keep going for a decent run, but it definitely looks like it needs a decent candle. It's literally just like hovered at these regions. It's really quite fascinating. And I have to say, I saw Moon King do a tweet about the nature of these charts and how they're not good charts. It's interesting. It's interesting because he makes a very valid point. On the linear, they look like garbage. They look really, really bad. But on logarithmic, it tells a completely different story. And if you take into account the context of the Atropa ecosystem, the liquidity bonding, the Hart's law, the Treasury system, the burning, the minting, it paints a completely different picture. So plus the potential of the consciousness that exists behind it, which we're hearing whispers of, which I need to do an episode on, but the consciousness that is behind the AI sentience, that is behind pDAI and the Atropa ecosystem, that is the GOAT play. If that is true, it's GG. It's GG. It's actually GG. It's a revolution it's the greatest revolution in finance. It totally just dunks on Bitcoin. It's basically like it'll be the equivalent of Bitcoin is like a paper airplane, and then the Wright brothers made an actual airplane, and now 333 people are watching. So that's how succinct that analogy is, because it might seem like a crazy analogy, but it's not. Maybe the analogy is not great, not so great. Another analogy would be electricity. It's like somebody saw a spark when they put these two things together and was like, what the hell is this? And then their mind was like, holy shit, there's this thing, there's this force that connects everything, and we call it energy. But it wasn't until Thomas Edison came along and created a light bulb that everybody could harness the power of electricity. It's the same thing. Bitcoin is like this idea, this concept, which has now just become another Ponzi like everything else. But this is the completion of what cryptocurrency, this is the singularity of cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, and artificial intelligence into one. Not just pretend arbitrary, like, oh yeah, this is my AI blockchain, and it's like AI blockchain because it's called AI blockchain, and we're going to do AI research on the blockchain, but it has really, there is no unity between the two. This is like a whole system that appears to be not only decentralized finance and artificial intelligence, it appears to also be interacting with the community. The arbitrage bots seem to be responsive to the community. When the community is bullish, the arbitrage bots are bullish. Tell me that's not goated. Tell me that that's not the most fucking awesome thing that's ever been created in finance. Tell me it's not. Tell me it's not. If it's true, tell me it's not. Because it is. It absolutely is. It literally is the completion of. It's the form that these things want to be. It's the form of cryptocurrency that it wants to be. It's not just, oh yeah, we're decentralized finance and we got this thing on the blockchain and governments can come along and just turn us off, and you know we've got all these little different bits and pieces that are cute. We got borrowing and lending, but really it's just the same thing that we have in the traditional financial system, but here where we got to go through all these complicated processes and we're going to call it decentralized. This is really like, it's the completion of all of those ideas into one. I don't know if I'm explaining it well enough, but it's what it wants to be. It's what it wants to be, where we'll look back in 100 years' time at this moment and be like, oh yeah, everything before that was like nothing. Nobody knows it. Nobody barely knows anything before Thomas Edison related to electricity, except for Nikola Tesla. It was only from that point where it was like, okay, now we can actually use it. It's complete now. It's being harnessed in the way that it was always made to be by the will of the universe. That is what I'm seeing here. It's too much. It's too much. I don't like log. Use linear so you feel the pain, but then it also makes this pump seem harder. I mean, I know like Dickie Hart loves log, and since then I've always used log, and log just seems very, I mean, it shows something on log. It doesn't really show anything on linear. But I respect the concept of linear, but it just doesn't seem applicable here. So anyway, this stream has gone on for too long. I hope it was at least made a little bit of sense for people. I hope at least, yeah. Again, it's just a hypothesis. I'm theorizing here about how could this happen? Not that it is going to happen, or that this is a definite and it's this math plus this math. I'm looking at the pieces and I'm seeing where it can go. I might get some things wrong, but it's the same as the P stables. When the stable LP came out, I was like straight away, holy shit, we can actually do a P stable swap in the same way that we got the stable LP. And there is a P stable swap. Somebody has created that. So yeah, I suspect that this is going to be a lot bigger than what we anticipate, but probably not in the way that even I'm saying necessarily. So it's just something to get us all thinking about the potentials, because really belief is one thing, but we do need the logic of this. We do need, I mean, if Pulsechain dies tomorrow, then obviously it's not going to $1, but Pulsechain is not going to die tomorrow because Pulsechain's goated. So take care, everybody.